Hello and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up. My name's Andrew and I'm glad to have you here with me. This is where I share my thoughts, rating, and review following my most recent reaction or watch-along video. To find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please be sure to click the follow button here on the podcast, and for those listening on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review would be greatly appreciated. And now, on to this episode's wrap-up for Civil War from 2024. I considered taking a little time after watching that to collect my thoughts and shoot this, but I changed my mind. I literally hit stop on the other one and then hit record on this one almost immediately. But I don't know how much more I can say than what I said during the reaction. It's just I had been worried about being able to handle the emotional impact of a movie like this based on things like I said, the other things going on. But I also was very intrigued by this movie, interested to see the story they were going to tell. I had watched a fair amount of clips of it. I would say that I maybe saw a quarter of this movie almost, like spread out throughout clips over the course of the last few months, kind of leading up to like, I really want to watch this, but it just hadn't gotten to it yet. But it definitely changes the overall picture of it when you see them strung together in context and tied to everything else going on. And that's why you watch whole movies. This movie feels exactly like what it is. It's just a warning. I mean, I think it's a warning particularly to people in America, because in the United States, because we've had the luxury so long of whenever we've seen wars throughout our lives, they've always been somewhere else. And it's like, well, what if you didn't have the luxury of that anymore? What if the war truly came home? And it wasn't even just an outside enemy attacking us. It was us attacking each other again. I mean, even the Civil War that did happen in this country, hundreds of thousands of people died in the 1800s. It was a catastrophic event, and for some of the most profound reasons. War is never a great option. It really isn't. It's basically, war is the failure of everything else. War is the failure of everything else that's supposed to work to prevent war. And it's kind of one of the ultimate signs of what are some of the most horrible things human beings can do to each other. And we saw that. We saw that on full display in this, and I think that was the point. We saw people just trying to live their lives, people trying to survive in difficult situations, people in one particular pocket that found some way to retain some kind of normalcy and were fine to just turn a blind eye to what's going on or just kind of try to ignore it as much as possible, try to keep it out of their little corner of the country. Which, you know, I think lots of people would come down in different places on that. I mean, we don't even know, unless they said it and I missed it somewhere in the movie, we don't even know how long this whole thing has been going on, how long they've been at war, how quickly this escalated. I mean, it seems like it would have had to have been a little bit of time because the Western forces seem to be pretty together and, you know, organized. I mean, given if you have a president who forced their way into a third term, is blatantly disregarding how the governmental structures are supposed to work, you likely would have large parts of those governmental structures, people who believe in that structure, people who believed in the way the government was supposed to work, turning against that president. And so then you would potentially have large organizational things already together and have a head start in being able to organize an effort like that. So there's all kinds of logistics you could get into as far as the breakdowns of all of this. And even again, what happens now beyond this. It's not exactly like everything's just peacetime all of a sudden. It could be, but they don't know. But that again, that's not the point. At least the way I read it, that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is to follow these journalists. And by following these journalists, to be a spectator in what these things look like and what they feel like on the ground. And rather than doing that in some other country that you don't identify with places you live, to do it in places that you do recognize, to do it in places that you would see just normally day to day, just going about your life. What if all of a sudden there was a huge war going on in the middle of all of that? Or, you know, people living in bombed out cities, struggling to find supplies to take care of their family. These are things that have happened to people in war zones around the world forever. And more than anything, I think it's just a message to bring that home, to bring that reality of what that's like home. It is a very startling movie. It is a very dire story. It is a very well-made movie. I'm not going to say that I'm super familiar with all of his work, but the stuff that I've listed that he's been a part of, the 28 Days Later movies, he hasn't been part of those as a director, but he did write at least the first one. I don't know if he wrote the second one. I know that he's back for the sequels they're doing, so I'm glad about that. Alex Garland, to say it correctly. I think his work speaks for itself, and I don't know how to give this movie anything other than 5 stars, really. And I feel like I'm on a run of like, hey, let's just give everything 5 stars. You know, I gave Nosferatu 5 stars. They're really good movies. They are movie makers and actors and everybody who are really bringing these things to life in such cohesive and visceral ways that make you feel it. Make you feel the reality of what they're trying to do, or in case of Nosferatu, the artistry of how they were trying to create that. And if I really enjoyed it, and if I can't think of anything they could have done better, I don't know how to give it anything other than a 5 star. And that's the position I find myself in here, so that's where we are. So 5 stars for Civil War, not a tremendous surprise, I don't think, for me or for you probably. And I need to go watch something a little happier, or go spend a few moments away from something like this for a while to kind of get my head back together. But I really appreciate you being here with me. I'm glad that I finally watched it. I really appreciate you taking this time, watching through it with me. And yeah, maybe you need to go and have a moment for yourself too. Before we go, be sure to go ahead and have a look over at the Patreon. The full-length reaction to this movie will be over there, along with other full-length reactions, exclusive content, that kind of stuff. A lot of good stuff over there. I hope you go have a look. And become a free member so you can see when I'm putting out new stuff over there. If you'd be so kind, please go ahead and rate, comment, and share this episode of the podcast. Really helps me out here. And I really appreciate you being here with me, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the I've Seen Everything reaction wrap-up. Again, to find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please consider following the podcast, and for those on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review are always appreciated. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll meet you here on the next episode.